one piece of the studio remains. After On Location Cat Studios went out of business, one piece remained out of business. Yeah, we don't make any money. Everything's packed up. And we're going to do one last ride. That's right. One last gasp. Well, three. We are going to adapt the first 150 pages of the Mumsy novel. I'm going to do the Blessings Deferred trilogy, the Mumsy novel. I'll do it. With some of the Star Trek figures, brought them back out. And yeah, even though we spent several days rebuilding this, I'm going to do it. Actually, in the couch, this is funny. Okay, we've discarded all of the Space Vanguard's scripts we weren't going to do, and all the Canary Space scripts we weren't going to do, because we weren't ever going to do them. And when they were printed, we never got around to it. But when they were printed, they weren't printed in a slightly darker, easier to read font anyway. They were just printed. All the newer ones were redone, like when we did the Space Time Eye stuff. I reprinted it in a larger font, darker font, so it's easier to read for script form. The Mumsy novel is in that format already. When it was printed, she did, 3 huge novels, making a trilogy. Each one of them is 500 pages roughly. They aren't novels though. What they are is technically emails. They're letters and email correspondence. They're all copied in some form in a computer, so they were all already there. There could also be a version of the 3 books put on maybe the Scribe site, or Amazon site, or something like that. Because sister is also doing the dad one. I'm doing mom one. So why not? I'll do the mom one. And most of the people in book 1 have long since been deceased. Some of them more recently than others. And so book 1, you could totally do an animated thing of, because none of them are actually around. You wouldn't even change the names. Just do. It would go from roughly 2010 to 2012 in the story. And it would have in the first, at least, all 3 volumes, really. It's only the couple of years. It's during the post On Location Valley Stories / early missions era, which doesn't really mean anything other than this On Location era, with On Location Valley Stories, my journals. It has nothing to do with my journals, really. Doesn't impact them. I never got around to doing mine just because it didn't make sense to do those. Also, I've turned the cable box on, but it's still fine. Turn it back off. Doesn't matter if there's noise. On Location was essentially my versions, my journals. There were 9 books of that series, all from the high school years all the way to college and beyond, all the way until the pandemic, really. Roughly 1985 to 2021, somewhere around there. It stopped. Yeah, and then they were published. Mumsy novels are about the same length. Well, no, a decade shorter. They go from 2010 to 2023, basically. So you have, another 15, same length, really, the other way, pushed up 10 years. Yeah, kind of in the same time period as Valley Stories in its later years or missions On Location journals. Post Young Swan era, by 3 years. Post Dad era as well. That's referenced. A number of mom and her friends were going to go on a reunion. That would have been really in the next trilogy. It's actually further along in the. But the early stuff is fun. You get to see that. The auspices is a bunch of 70-something ladies from Duluth are in a story very similar in tone to the Graham and Knapp stories on Dad's side of the family, Graham and Knapp, but more prolific because those are out there, and it's fine because it ends before any of the really bizarre stuff like the reunion and then the other stuff. It ends before that. It ends in it. So yeah, you can do the first story, first three movies, real quick without that. We'll use the technique used on Blessings Deferred, where it's an audiobook with very limited visuals from the videos of the characters talking about the audiovisual. Martha hated it. Sister didn't like it. No, it's not political enough. It's not. Take that down off that other channel. But no, it's on the Chimera channel. So this is going to be, yeah, so I put it up on the archive channel, the Blessings Deferred, the Graham Knapp one. And then I took it and I also put it back up with different beginning and ending credits and set it up so if you read the beginning and ending credits from the re-release this year, it makes it sound like Blessings Deferred was on the holodeck, and the Star Trek people who were in it have a reason to go on the holodeck and play it. That's kind of what's going on here too, doing the same thing on the holodeck, to go on the holodeck to play the story. Yeah. It's not time travel. It's not a different story. It's still late 2403, early 2404 in this universe. It's a little bit before the other one. They're still in the story. It's still the Star Trek type of story. It's basically the. It's not really the convention we're gonna get last. There was no final party. Like last year, there was no final party. There was just like convention jokes and stuff and party jokes, and that which led to confusion about a party. This year, however, because I am in the cast of the Christmas play thing, which one of us, Amanda, was on about, this year there probably will be a cast thing, and she's not in the play anymore. It'd be weird if she wanted to go, which wasn't in it. But if she wants to, sure, come to the cast party. If there is one, come to the cast party. But sure, we didn't uninvite her. Anyway, yeah. But there's no cast party for the Silly Track thing, the Star Trek thing. It's just me, but kind of silly. Kind of already did that with that zombie finale, which was only a few days ago it came out. Clamoring for more already. We don't have anything more. So I decided on, okay, the studio is around for at least a month, so less than a month now at this point, the old one. So why not do that? Why not do this, to do what amounts to the first part of the stories, with the clique of the group. You got Mom's friends cast, which are vaguely like mine were, but not really, just vaguely like, nothing like Martha's were really either. Not really. There's always, in a cast like that, you always got a big person, probably has a lot of cats or something, as a cat lady. You got sort of a pseudo hippie lady, but before hippies, because she's a boomer. She's not a boomer, she's a pre-boomer. So yeah, it was not even a boomer. We're not boomers either, because the next X generation is the 60s. That's when that starts. And boomer generation was the mid-40s when that started. And yeah, we could go into the millennial thing, but we don't need to, because this is also 2010 to 2012 sets it up as sort of a 2012 thing, which was a big deal around 2010 to 2012. 2012 was a big deal. I don't know if Mom thought it was. I don't think so. But it was also the beginning couple seasons of the Cal Cat show. It's a relatively unexplored area of history. The YouTube show is probably not even mentioned. I don't think it is. But mainly they're on their own thing. It'd be kind of interesting to see what that was like. The stories themselves seem to run from, book one was basically up to we're only doing a little bit of book one, like a third of it, because it's really long. It goes into 2015, I think. Book two goes from 2017 to 20. Yeah, so this is only 20. Okay, 2013. Yeah, 2012, 2010 to 2013. Yeah, it's already big. It's already ridiculous. 2009 to 2013. mom writing to her nieces. Yeah, there's a lot of repetitive stuff that you don't need to cover twice too. Like there'll be a Christmas letter to everybody that you don't need to read all of it, just the good one. So yeah. But yeah, it's like Christmas. And you can certainly do a story that way. You can certainly do something that way. There's nothing wrong with that. It's called a motion audiobook, basically. You can do it that way. I don't suggest you read the stories separately from the video. Just read the story into the video, because that makes the most sense. That'd be the quickest. Yeah. And yeah, each excerpt from put together into a story. I don't think you'd call it Blessings Attained, though. It isn't really Blessings Attained. It was my name for the other stuff. And I don't know if it's called that necessarily. Jokingly thought, let's call it The Last Mumsy. That'd be kind of funny, but nobody would get that joke either, because The Last Mimsy? Really? A movie from 20 years ago? Nobody would get that. Also, she didn't like being called Mumsy anyway. Dattykins and Mumsy, yes. He really didn't want to be called Dattykins. Oh, yes, we weren't actually rich, so that was the joke. So yeah, there's yeah, let's do this. It can't be just if anything weird comes up that shouldn't be in it, we just won't read that part. Sure, why not? So yeah, and it would be various characters in it doing things back and forth. Some of the Star Trek figures that I sorted, put out there and said, okay, these ones could be in it. I grabbed too many of them. It's probably not all of them. It's probably just a few of them. Like for the Blessings Deferred story, this is essentially a sequel to that. That story that was set between roughly 1880 and 1933, roughly 34. Martha's sister also thought that there was somehow some World War II stuff out there, or other memorabilia, another book out there that was, no, there wasn't. I don't know what she was referring to. There was no other book out there. He didn't write, he wrote a foreword to a book in the era of the politics, Dad did, and didn't go anywhere with it. He just wrote a foreword, that's it. Yeah, it didn't go anywhere. Mom started to write something in the 80s called Death and Dying, a little short story, Aunt Roseanne's story. That one is just a short story, and probably not including that at all. That's not in here. This takes place in the 2000s, the 2010s. Yeah, recently. So, after everything else. So yeah, this is clearly a spin-off kind of thing. I like the idea of immortalizing the early letters, which were the most interesting. The other ones were interesting too, but the most interesting. She was extremely prolific, wrote 1,500 pages of letters, and this is only going to be three, and real quick, 3 90-minute movies probably. Yeah, so yeah, audiobooks. So cool. I just wanted to overdo it before the Christmas play in 2 weeks. And yeah, not going to do that. I just thought the idea of doing some kind of a holiday thing was cool. Let's do that. And the idea of it being just the first, a little bit into 2013 at the end. It's perfect for the story. It's like, okay, you're just doing this and you're going to that. And and nobody starts dying yet. None of the original, her OG cast dies yet. Maybe one of them. But yeah, in the story. Yeah, so that's the plan, I guess. Having finished setting up the set, now that I'm just a day over 55, why not do something like that? Sure, we'd appreciate it. I think it would be a lot of fun. And so it isn't a grift or a thing or anything like that. It isn't that the studio went bankrupt. It didn't go bankrupt. Instead, on location cats just ran out of a place to be It does that frequently. It's not some kind of grift. The Queen Bee Studios is just on location cat under another name, and it would be, yeah, allegedly doing this too. But it's the same thing. It's not even a studio. There's no 503. It's just 501. It's just fan films. Don't worry, it's in a house. It's not. Yeah, they shouldn't overemphasize. Just fan films in a house, and it's not meant to be an actual. Well, it would be considered an indie studio, and an indie independent film thing, and it is outside of yeah, and we're not far from the place where Hollywood started, just outside of Fremont. So, but yeah, but yeah, Irvington. That's where all the early Hollywood was, old Hollywood. Yeah, so might go back there. Who knows? But anyway, here is maybe not. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. This is the making of whatever this is. Calling it Blessings Attained is just kind of, yeah, that's kind of like, I think that's kind of what the movie version was called, or a Brown Press Universal magazine. You can go watch the movies, the Brown Press Universal magazine covering this period and the other ones. There is some 2010 stuff. It's not as covered as the other years were because it's after. Yeah, it's not as much in there. 2013. It really was an era that wasn't explored. 2010 to 2013, kind of was with the Cal Cat show. But yeah, not very much of the other stuff. Mainly because the Sap One Productions stories that started early on there, they took their stuff down. Most of it ended up on Brown Press Universal, so it's over there instead of on the main one. It's just over there. It's in the archive. So it did come back, a lot of it. Some of it couldn't come back, but a lot of it did. There were relatives who were like, no, we can't have the Brown video stuff mentioning ex-husbands and ex-wives and stuff. And why? Who's going to care? Come on. It's just like, oh no, this guy over here is like, you're not going to care. Stuff is like, so most of that stuff on there is 30 years old. No, but they don't care. There's another person that has a similar name that's mentioned. That's not her. That's one of the clique. See, Mom had a clique. There's two Mary Jeans. One was a cat lady that had all kinds of cats in a cat sanctuary. Big heavy set lady who was probably on the autism spectrum, actually. She probably was. She just wasn't ever diagnosed with it. As was, I suspect, Aunt Eleanor was also some too as well. But yeah, or something OCD or something different. Let's see. So we have Casey, who was the happy-go-lucky hippie girl. I say girl, the hippie lady, but she wasn't really a hippie. She was like a pre-hippie because she was like technically she was a boomer. She was a pre-boomer. She wouldn't have been a hippie. She would have been like, earlier than that. But yeah, there was a person named Kathy Tobias and Peter Tobias, who inspired the computer era of the Apple's computers and all that stuff. Yeah, so they're there. They had an enormous dog. It was a huge, big husky dog, gigantic. This is Cal Cat to Cal Catster, and I was briefly going through, cataloging and compiling these. What could be done in December here, with only a few days, 24 days of Christmas. Heaven Week at the play. That's what they call it. All the rehearsals and tech rehearsals for the church play. That's next week. And then that's the middle of December. If you want to pull off a fan film in December, it's the last fan film done for the studio, Queen Bee. The studio and the on location cats. One movie, just stick to one of these. Do one of these, just one, because the rest of it is the length of the Canary Space saga. It's way too long to do. Yeah, there's like how many? Oh my God, 7 novels in here. Yeah, you're not gonna do that. Yeah, one story. One story, tentatively titled A Christmas Fiasco. and it would be not. There were a number of things that were decided on change. Mark's cards, and I will solidify this on Thursday, a couple of days. But the tentative plan is to do one movie, one audio visual movie thing, moving characters around on the screen, done up like that, and to do that. And so yeah, so yeah, it's it's set in the Starship Locations universe, but it's a Christmas Fiasco. It's a Christmas special, basically. So it's Starship Locations. That's what it is, and it is in that universe. It's also in the Blessings Deferred universe. So it's not technically under the auspice of it being necessarily. It is a true story. It is about these journals. So what you would do is you just do like you did with Grandma's book and change it into make the letter vignettes relate to the story being told in terms of events that happened, little short events that happened. You have a lot of these are a page long, and that's it. And note that it is a whole page too. It's not really super double spaced or anything. So yeah, you're probably gonna end up with a lot of extra material in the Christmas Fiasco. But yes, it wouldn't technically be a Browne production. It would technically be on location missions, but it would be Starship Locations because you're using Starship Location figures. It's like you're taking the Blessings Deferred idea and making a story set in the universe, the cinematic universe. Blessings Deferred area. Yeah, I'm just saying, well, we never did the other ones, but we're going to do this one. I've went ahead compiling so far, just for a compilation, just for my own edification, they up to the end of 2012, in terms of the where the stories go. There's 6 novels or 6 movies that you could do up to 2012, and we're not doing that, obviously. It's not possible. And the voice would be destroyed, and then the Christmas play would be ruined. So we're not going to do that. Rather, one story. That's all we get. One story. And if there's sequels later on at some point, great. Sequels later on at some point. As for the letters, don't throw them away. Keep them the way they are here. Unlike the Canary Space stuff, that was the wrong font. If you ever need to do those again, just reprint them. They were not meant to be storybooks to be kept anyway. But these are the letters of Mumsy. The letters. These are the computer versions of those emails and letters. And yeah, they're historical evidence stuff. Nothing's too serious. I skimmed ahead. It's nothing. No, there's no problem with X's and stuff. I mentioned that the other thing. You're not going to get to the story I had been referred to, but it took out, referring to her 80th birthday. You don't get that far with this movie. This is only 2011, a little bit of 2010, 2011. Well, all of 2010, and then all of 2011 in one story. So yeah, they're down there laughing. So that's it. Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do, and yeah, it should be fun. So yeah, storybook. This is the way it goes. Storybook. 2011. So that is the plan. Going forward on the studio, construct a set. Don't bother breaking out the extra chairs and tables and the staircase and all that stuff. That's silly. Just leave that in the box and just break out the other ones. It's not meant to look like the house like the other ones did. You don't need to. Yeah, just stay the way it is. And there's no competition. There's no other thing. It's not a race to put out the journal. I think that probably if you ever wanted to put these out, that you could put these 3 novels out on WordPress or something. Just have them free, so anybody in Browne Press could read them. Just they're free. You can go look at them. Yeah, so and then whatever's in there is just in there. Instead of putting it on Scribe or Amazon or something, where you get a larger audience, smaller audience. It's a diary on the smaller audience website. There was a mom Google site that had been created. Put it there. Just say, oh, I forgot that I put that up. Even though the dates would say now. Yeah, so I was like, yeah. And yeah, if everybody else is doing it, do it. But there's no reason not to do it. Anybody that complained, they've passed away. So, and they wouldn't complain either. They'd do it. Yeah. So, yeah, they weren't meant to be. They're not steamy at all. So I see no problem with it. Especially not 2020. I read it. 2010. There's nothing in there that's bad. It's fine. It's PG. It's fine. Yeah, that's my behind the scenes thing on this. Take on this, you can add it to the making of. Found out we'll come up with a title, and yeah, not Blessings Attained. That's ridiculous. No, we can't use that just because we can't. It isn't really. It's the clever correspondent letters of Mumsy, which were quite funny, and many of them quite witty, and sometimes subtle. Yeah, and actually the first movie, quote unquote, doesn't even have any responses to the letters. So it's all her, because the email stuff hadn't started until late 2011, early 2012, so people didn't email her back. So there wasn't anything later on. Later on, the emails. These are the actual letters that went out, but we don't have the received ones. They were lost. So all we have is the ones that were on the computer, that were her letter documents. A lot of the Christmas stuff repeats itself. But sure, it's another take each time they do that. So if you get to that point, you'd be like, oh, this. Here's another perspective on this one scene. That's how you do there. Say like, oh, well, here's my perspective on the scene. Here's my perspective. Yeah, it's a different person doing the perspective of the scene. Okay, making of. This is the beginning of this production on the 9th, is it? The 9th. What this is going to start out with as a little bit of a narrated commentary thing. I'm just going to run some screen tests of this character and see how it goes, how the narration goes. There's a little story in here with a narration with an older lady in it. I'm just going to grab somebody out of here and do that and not worry about the consequences. So making of, what I'm kind of doing with this test footage, which we can use, I'm just using the little stories that are implicit in the stories. Even though it's non sequitur a little bit, the stories that were so far used are actually about a trip, and everyone got sick apparently. So yeah, so it is about a trip. Then it's in there. It's just that, yeah. So it doesn't matter who they're writing to. They're just like, yeah. It's a little weird, but yeah, that's kind of what's going on. So yeah, it seems to work. It works. And I'm just kind of doing a run through, kind of. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not even bothering putting the deer before these. I'm just reading some of the dialogue and I've been piecing it together as the story, just so you know that's what's going on. Making of. Yeah. So kind of what this is, what the millennials would call this is. Sort of a quick blog of blog like vignettes, like an Instagram thing or something with different posts being mentioned. There is a plot with this little story. It's about a trip that happened before Christmas. Not said what the date is, but it was actually October. And then they jumped to later stuff. There was some historical stuff about On Location in there. Valley stories that. Well, not about On Location, but Mom's version of it. And the destruction of the fort, the arrival of Abracadabra, and some other stuff. I left out the other drama that was in there. There's no other drama in there. It's very sanitized. Um, yeah, so park dedication, that kind of thing. It was a trip. There was a wedding, Courtney's wedding. Yeah, so yeah, and one each one. Okay, making of. This character looks awful. Its face is half melted off. Yeah, you're gonna have to any footage of her in there. Just take that off. Just don't include this character. Just thought I'd mention that in there. Making of. Yeah, just take it off. It looks terrible. Yeah. So yeah, making of. This is working out. I had to put a little teaser at the beginning. It looks like it's gonna work. I almost did 20 more minutes there. Raw footage. There's probably going to be like 17, 18 in 2009 there. And we jump on to 2010. It looks like the years don't matter. It's sort of like it's a year in the life storybook thing. So it's probably going to look like there's 3 years in there. 2009, 2010, and 2011. That's probably what's going to happen in the first movie. The first one filmed the last one filmed in the studio, involving this cast and crew. They'll go to another place that is still being worked out. So we haven't finalized where our show is going to end up, but we'll see. Yeah. So we wanted to do this mom Christmas thing, Christmas letters thing that's been kicking around for close to 2.5, 3 years, and wanted to do it, have it go out. Yeah, it doesn't have any. Yeah, the drama's all cut out. But you can go back and see Browne. You can go back and see Browne Video Productions, and you'll catch a little of the drama in those old videos. Some of this time period, which was not recorded very much, does include some of that. Okay, since each one of these is kind of the same information for the same Christmas card, there's 12 minutes of tape. I'm just gonna skip a lot. Yeah, all the way to the end of tape. You don't need to know that, but that's what's going on. That's, I guess, making of. So I'm going to put together what I've shot and see how long this is before we go into 2011. It probably will go into 2011, but let's go. I just got lunch. So yeah. The timeline is. Yeah. This is Calicat the Calicatster. I've been going into them. Looking at the footage for the Christmas Fiasco Trilogy here, and suffice it to say, 2009 and all of 2010 are the first basically 2 hours of the movie. That takes us into movie 2, with 2011 being another hour into another movie. So really, it's kind of another theme, another movie, a reunion. It's the reunion story. The Christmas reunion, I think is the title, but that's kind of, don't call it that. It's just Christmas Fiasco 2. Just keep it simple. So we have, you have Christmas Fiasco 2. We're going to do the rest of 2011 right now for the Christmas video for the rest of 2011. And it probably just goes up to 2012, and their third movie is 2012, because really there's really no point in going into the Dan wedding later on in 2013. If we go into 2013, it's a 4-part movie miniseries, and the actual wedding commentary on the thing when it happens. There's a lot of drama around that in 2013. It's when the SAP One Productions left the Calicat show and had all their videos taken down. Probably don't want to go there. So probably 2012 is the end of Christmas. 2012 is the end of movie 3 and the end of the trilogy. For now, at this point, you would have to take so much out that would you even have a fourth movie? 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015 this is the height of the Calicat show in its rise on YouTube. Back when they had the SAP One Productions, Martha Group, had they done their own, they would have been bigger than me. But they didn't. But yeah, at the time, in terms of their storybooks and stuff, they'd actually done a Brown Video Productions thing way back then. And the Brown Video videos were being produced at that point as well. This is so far so good. It's gone on through, done the voice acting, done the voiceovers there with the action figures. It is in the style of the Blessings Deferred, but it's not Blessings Deferred. It's clearly something else. It's clearly something 100 years later that in terms of the story. It's just, that was in the 1900s. This is the 2010s in the story. And it's before either things got better or things got more dramatic. And it's probably best to just have it end before things got more dramatic. And on a high note, the 2012 being the year that everybody thought was the end of the world. Because 2000 wasn't, so they thought it was 2012. Having it end there would be funny. But I'm not sure how far you get or need to get into that. It had nothing to do with that. Mom didn't bring up the 2012 conspiracies at all. Wasn't even aware of them, I don't think. It's just funny that she references fixing computers and fixing printers and things like that here in 2011, when she was more on the internet. There are other, and later on in the later years, you get replies from these people on here, her friends and whatnot, and they are. Here it's no replies. It's just she's talking to them, and commenting on their replies, which is what happened. A lot of it was snail mail in 2009, 2010, and then there was email, the internet. The internet came about. I went through the production and so far, and raw footage. Although there really is not much to re-edit into this, I suggest that we do a series of transitional wipes, but just to add in some people moving around, some characters, figures moving around here and there, just to indicate something's happening. Bumpers here and there, people moving around. It doesn't need it, but it would help. I'm not saying do that in post. But other than that, it is supposed to be like an audiobook, but with some visuals. I don't know if the other family members understood that when watching Blessings Deferred. Like this one, it's a motion comic audiobook, so there's not much motion because it's just an audiobook. You're really just listening to it. They're not visually telling you in visual anything. It's an audiobook. It's all verbal. It's hardly any nonverbal, which totally makes sense. As for the other characters and drama, with the ex-husband story and then the boyfriend story. The boyfriend became her current husband. Martha story. That's not drama. That happened. I think the story is actually quite nice about all that. It keeps it so it's just nice about it. It's not really going to go. Yeah. So it's nice about all that. One of the comments in there was the Boeing plant visit. It was a Boeing Space Center, so they had like spaceships and stuff. But it was also a Boeing aircraft museum. And Robert was a little paranoid that we were talking about clean energy and stuff there in an elevator at one point. And also, they don't care. They know we're tourists. We obviously weren't spies. They're obviously tourists being goofy. It doesn't matter. But kind of puzzled him was a scene in I think I've mentioned this story before, and it was mentioned on the Cal Cat Show in season 2, 2011. Having gone on that trip, that was mentioned as well in there. That the tour guide, the first thing she said, are there any questions beginning the tour? And a bunch of the people raised their hands, and she said, if it's about Mr. Hands, I'm not answering that. And their hands all went down. Robert was all, what's it about Mr. Hands? Tell me later. Not now. I did. So I told him later. They said, well, there's a guy on the internet who was infamous for having Control-Alt-Deleted himself, let's say, using a equine creature. Yes, let's just leave it at that.
ew. And it was like that, yeah. And that wasn't actually the clip that killed him. It was a one after that. But Robert's all, I had a feeling that was I thought that's what they were talking about. The Emaclow case, the Emaclow case of the Boeing employee, ex-Boeing employee that was having relations with equestrian stallion. Very funny. But so of course the tour guide's not going to answer that. He's going to be like, no. So that's just one of the first gags at the show was Clint Cowpoke, who comes in and he talks about that story. We don't know him or anything. It's just that we happened to go to the Boeing plant that happened to be the one that he worked at. In McLeod. That was pretty funny. Over there by Tillamook, up north, you know. And we took the train. Also, Mom indicated that from that trip that I suddenly became super liberal as of that trip. It's like, we didn't even talk about politics. He didn't want to. That wasn't what, that didn't happen. That was it. Anyway, so, yeah. That's the story. That's the story of Mr. Hand. Which is not a relative or anything like that. And they kind of clarify the connection between the various Scorpies and the other ones and Allures and them guys. So what's going on with the relatives? They're not related to that. They're relative. They're related to her aunt and her cousin, and they're in the aunt lady the aunt lady's first husband was Mr. Corpy. And Mr. Corpy, they had two boys, John and Donald. And they're the aunt lady, and the aunt lady that passed away. So that aunt lady. There was another aunt. There was Aunt Anne. Aunt Anne is their mother. So she's the one that was married. And then she got remarried to a man named Brode. Anne Brode. And she passed away. So that's who those people are. Now on the other side with the Slatterys and the Omlands and that Kensington connection, that's actually on the Slattery side. So it's by marriage to the Leon side. By marriage. Not the mayor side, the Leon side. Yeah. Anyway, I always said the mayor side, but no, it wasn't Leon. It was the Italian uncles with no hair up here. It was them. Yeah, so we get a story of Mom's side of the family here. We get Duluth, mainly Duluth. Moni's New Jersey in the story. It's mainly Duluth. Everybody seems to be retired. Everybody's over 60. And now most of them are dead. Well, Moni's still alive. But Robert's still alive too. Martha's still alive in Missouri. But yeah, that's what's going on. So let's go on with it. Let's finish 2011 today before the church play rehearsal, and worry about any movie 3 tomorrow, I guess, because I don't think you might get into it a little bit. I don't think you get into that much. So let's do that. Let's not waste tape going on a tangent about other things. I thought that I mentioned the relatives, the year 2011, the reunions. When did the Klingon basement story happen? That was actually earlier. I was wrong in the story. I'm leaving it in though because it doesn't matter. It did happen. The Klingon basement story was 2010. Yeah, so it wasn't 2011. It was 2010. There were 2 different reunions going on and a bunch of other trips. So that's what confused that about that. That was earlier. Yeah, that was in deference to earlier things. And it doesn't matter. It's not in the diary. It's not in the letters here anyway. Just thought I'd mention that. And yes, it is strange that certain characters got divorced and then immediately had a new boyfriend within 8-9 months, 10 months. That is a little weird. That is a little weird. But no, there was no hanky panky. It was just weird. That's all. That's all that was. Anyway, on to the next thing. So note in the story, I am going to read on top of 104 again, just to make sure that I got it all. I'm pretty sure I do. But let's make sure. No. Okay, making of. There are, it's the 12th. There are 2 movies in the can. And now
yeah. Going on to a little bit of movie 3 here. The first movie is about 2 hours and 7 minutes, and the second movie is about 2 hours and 16 minutes. And as we start into 2012 and 2013, they start answering the letters. So we get some answers. We're going to start with the answers, interestingly enough. And yeah, so yeah. And if there's repetitions, because I had to go through this on the second movie, don't say them. Yeah. Okay, sorry, here we go. Yeah. Okay, the next one is a letter from Marge. It's about health issues. I'm not going to read that. This is a making of. I'm just going to skip that letter because there's no point in putting that in there. There just isn't. So yeah, making of. Okay, making of. I am not going to use the June Corpy letter about the weather. Yeah, I'm going to cut that. I'm just not going to use it. It's going to end up cut anyway. So I'm just not going to use it. It's more the same about the weather. There's just no point in, yeah, just don't use that one. Don't use March 18th. Yeah. I'm making of. I'm going to skip another letter to Jen and Tom, April 4th, because it's not really, it's just like data about other data. It doesn't really go anywhere. I'm going to jump to Judy writing to Auntie Vic. And that's going to be confusing, so I'm going to use this one. Even though, yeah. Because, yeah. So it's the Aunt Martha saga. Yeah, the Aunt Martha saga. That's kind of what this is. Even though, don't go to 2015 when she died. No. No. So here is making of. I am skipping the drama of June 2012 because it's, I don't even know what the drama was about, but we don't want to include the drama in these, so we're not going to. Going on to other stuff, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Making of, I'm going to skip a John and June letter because it's weather and information. People, I have no idea other than Courtney getting her job. There's no point in this letter. Let's skip it. Okay, making of. It is Sunday the 14th, and it's about 4 and 3:30, and I would like to around that. I have read up to October, so I would like to begin with the reunion that actually happens in the story. In the interest of, because I would probably have cut out most of the August anyway, July and August anyway, because they would have been about just medical stuff, issues, things like that, planning for the reunion, stuff like that. And I noticed that I have a tendency in post to cut out that stuff anyway for this story, just to make it cohesive and coherent. So I'm skipping to several days after the reunion. It was not mentioned until the 13th of October. So that is what I'm skipping to, but you'll know that from the letter. I will say the date. Anyway, so let us do this. Let's do this. Since there's it's a 2 hour. It's already over 90 minutes of stuff. And I don't want to make the third act so much more than 2 hours that it's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense to do that. So that's what's going to happen. So let's do this. Okay, making of. There are 2 Marge letters here. And although I thought they were going to be about the reunion, I should have clicked on ahead. Because they're not. It's about the game again and the haunted front yard. Then she sent another one to Moni about the haunted front yard. Now, what I'm going to do, I think, yeah, okay, I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to jump past Halloween. Because she doesn't, well, she does go into it a little bit in the Moni letter. Okay.
if I do read the Moni letter, I'd have to skip a lot of it. Hold on. Did Moni letter? Okay, making of. We are skipping a letter to Yvonne and Robert because it is the same information. The same information. And the only thing about the other thing in this information is pictures from the reunion to Robert and Yvonne. We don't need that in the story. And then she cut and pasted parts of previous letters. Actually, in the anyways, that's what we have killing the grass. Wow. Okay, then we're gonna cut through this one. Doesn't have too bad a time in New Jersey. The storm. I get with the storm, but no. Yeah, there's. Making of, there's a Jean Michel letter in here, and there's no reason to include that. It's just a Jean Michel letter in November. So we're going to skip to a Judy letter, same lady here. Okay. Note that we are skipping Ryan. Yeah. Skip that. On Christmas 2020, 2012. Making of again. She writes to George, but I think here it's the same information. We don't need it, so we're going to go on. That's all I want to say about that. I think we're going to go on. I'm going to read ahead here and see what. Right. Okay, then she goes into the same cut and pasted letter about the Giants winning in Christmas 2012 to Rosie. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to read this letter to Rosie, but I'm only going to read the parts that are not repeating themselves in here. There may not be anything. Let me see here. PS Land. Note. So we get to the end of this, probably this book. Is that another section here? No, that's the end. So yeah, making of. I'm reading on ahead to see whether she mentions anything about the actual Christmas. Making of. It's kind of funny that this is like the last 50 pages here, and I've had to skim through it all the way because because really they kind of say the same information over and over again. Mom's Christmas letters tended to be actually technically pre-Christmas letters. They're always like that. And this is the end of the trilogy. And it's got to have some kind of closing other than that. So yeah, I couldn't find it. The other letters are just repeating the same stuff. Oh, there's the relatives might come, stuff like that. I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do for the closing here with 8 minutes to go of tape. Yeah, so you get another tape, but yeah. Oh, a card, memory card. Camera battery, actually. Just use the other camera. Okay, making of. Note that in this story that we have gone about 300 pages and done 3 movies, and that's all we're going to do. We're not going to go into 4 of them and go into 2013 and 2014. It was only meant to go to 2012 and only to December. So that's what this is. So that's all we're doing. There's no need to do the other stuff later on. There's no need to jump
another 7 months to that dance wedding and all that stuff. She mentions it, but there's no need to do that. It's not. Yeah, it's not like the reunion. The two reunions were the bridge in the story, not the Christmases. The Christmases are there. The cut and pasted letters are there. But yeah, it's a trilogy. It's meant to be 3 stories. It's like Blessings Deferred was. And so yeah, this is the Christmas Fiasco trilogy. And this is going to be the final couple of letters before the end of the whole thing, reminding you of things, but also going on. So we have 2 short abridged stories that kind of pull in the whole thing. So this is gonna be a little repetitive. But then we have this. Ah, yes, the infamous kid ate the eye drops. Great. Yes, that's gonna end it. Yeah. So here is our sort of update closing thing. So I guess this is the end of the trilogy. This is making of. This is the end of the trilogy, and these characters are not playing the people they're reading. They're doing line reading. Yeah, that's perfectly legit form of a stage. Not much movement, but staging. Yeah. So yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's audiobook with some movement. Yeah, it's fine. I think I'm going to stop. Let's going to stop right here. This is Calicat the Calicatster, and you're watching the making of the trilogy, the Christmas Fiasco trilogy. Yeah, it's a trilogy. There's 3 books. The first one is 2009-2010. The second one is all of 2011. The third one is all of 2012, and it stops. There were several years of the Browne Book Odyssey. The first adapted book of the 3 books in the book trilogy, 500 or so pages for each book. The first book was 500 pages, and we only adapted about 308 pages of it. Decided, okay, after that, so it's not even all of the first book. We didn't want to do the last 200 pages. I decided that was too much to do 2013 and 2014 and ended on the sour note where all the old friends die. That would be, let's totally do that. That would be another 2 movies. That would make it 5 movies. And because 100 pages because of the way they're structured as letters, it's about 2 hours each 100 pages. So probably that. Even if you cut stuff out, or did cut quite a lot out of it. I couldn't, of course, do the drama, make the drama stuff out. So you're watching the making of, and some of the making ofs included, and the other stuff. It's going to be hard to edit, but it's possible. We do that. The stories themselves were not hard to edit because they were just basically a go motion comic book, audiobook, like Grandma's book was, like the Blessings Deferred was. The characters weren't necessarily the people they were talking about. They're just on the screen, just spouting dialogue, like in a play, like they're on the holodeck, like they're in a play, and they're even if it's a guy talking about the part of a lady, reading a letter from a lady. That's happened a couple of times. He's not the lady. He's just reading the story. Yeah, or the lady's reading the story, or someone else is reading the story. So they're not playing the characters in the story. They're just reading them, which is fine. That's a perfectly legitimate way of doing it. It doesn't need any extras. It doesn't need any motion stuff added in. It doesn't need any AI added in or anything like that. We won't do that. It's just, that's what it is. It's an audio book with some visuals in it, basically. Audio book with a, and we only wanted to adapt 300 pages of book 1. I wanted to stop at the end of 2012.
that's to go on to 2013 and the others. It's superfluous. So it's basically the bridge. The bridge of it is when she did these Christmas letters, she'd often have them do that. She'd often repeat them anyway, so it would be just super repetitious all the way through to the end of the whole series. It would still be very long. The whole book series was meant. It wasn't meant as a book series. She intended it as more of a show, kind of like On Location, Mom's On Location, and she meant it to be like okay, all 1,000 pages of the whole life story of the letters from 2010 to 2022 or 2023 when that idea came out. That's all. Yeah, then it did like 13 years of stuff in there, over 1,000 pages. And you're not going to 1,500 pages. You're not going to tackle that as a movie thing. So that's what this is. It wouldn't be on Browne Radio Productions because you have bookended it as a Star Trek, Starship Locations story, similar to the Blessings Deferred one, which was re-aired and re-edited this year as that as well, because it was kind of the intent of that one too over a year ago. The Blessings Deferred one needed to be a Star Trek story with Star Trek characters that just happened to be on the holodeck, reenacting Grandma's book. Now this is them reenacting Mom's book. Descendant, not a direct descendant of Grandma, but the wife of Bob Browne, who was married to her. Yes, and Grandma Knapp was Dad's mother. And Grandma Knapp was Dad's mother. Mom was Dad's wife. Obviously, so I'm the descendant of Grandma Knapp, grandson of Grandma Knapp. So that's there. That's all it is. None of the drama stuff is in it. It's taken out. If there is some suggestive hint of drama, there's always drama in family. So everything worked out in the end, and that's what they are. I didn't want to go any further in depth into it. I want to go into 2013 and 2014 and the other years and later years. I didn't want to finish book one necessarily as a movie trilogy. That'd be why in this case, why bother? There's enough material there for trilogy. It started out that it was going to be enough material for one movie. It ended up being three because in order to the raw stuff that was put out there, in order to put it all in there, it ended up being three movies. It just ended up being three. That's all. I don't think I'm going to do 4 and 5. Unless the family members decide, you should totally do some more of those. They're not going to say that. I doubt they're going to say that. Yeah, go up to 2016, do another trilogy. Do the 2013, 2014, and 2015 at least. I'm not necessarily going to do that. Be up to when Aunt Martha died. I don't want to do that. It's kind of a parable too, because Aunt Martha also has Alzheimer's dementia. Mom had Alzheimer's dementia. It'd be kind of an interesting parallel to have that happen in there. It was a coincidence. I guess Martha's doing a dad version, so I'm doing a mom version. So here it is. But it's done as a space opera kind of thing. Space opera. Anyway, so that's it. You're watching the making of the Christmas Fiasco Trilogy. It's just the Christmas Fiasco Trilogy. It's going to have 3 different clever names, but it's just Christmas Fiasco 1, 2, and 3. It's a miniseries, but split up into 3 movies just to make it easier to swallow. Listen to. Anyway, I should probably add why I wanted to do that. Although I always wanted to do that because Mom always wanted a show. I should also have Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that. What happened to there's no thing on what happened to the characters later, the people in it. Many of the there's nothing like that in the there's no after party commentary thing or anything like that. They end with a lot of those friends that she knew in high school died after that because they were very old, And then she eventually passed away in April of 2024. 88 years old, 88. So that's that. And yeah, so there was another 10 years of stories out there. That's a bit long. That would just be too epic. So yeah, this is just meant to be a Christmas look back at the voices and the characters and the interactions. Mostly her writing to other people. Very little of them responding. A lot of those were emails later on. A lot of them repetitious later on. She cut and pasted letters constantly, apparently. Said she wasn't, but that's what she was doing. Especially near the Christmas time. And usually near the Christmas time, there would be Christmas letters to people that wouldn't necessarily meet each other. So she figured they wouldn't read the thing. Probably what she should have done, that I would have done if I was doing something like that. I suggested it at the time as a journalism person. Why not make this a Browne newsletter? Make it a newsletter and say, okay, this is the year-end newsletter. I'm going to say all my stuff in here. And then it's not repetitious. It's you're getting a copy of the Browne newsletter. Yeah, that probably would have made more. That's kind of what it is. So it's kind of its own on location. She was never a journalist, and she's more of a essay writer, writing essays. Well, she was a nurse. A head nurse at Northrop Grumman. She wasn't a writer, but she had a writing talent there. Yeah, not many typos actually. Not very many. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of the messed up things. There's just a lot of repetition, and then saying I'm not repeating myself, am I? To a lot of her friends. Probably evidence of an early onset thing going on, that memory thing going on already early on in 2013 there, late 2012. But it was evident from the writing that there was a lot of cutting and pasting and forgetting. But didn't know it at the time. The way it's done, cut and pasted. So, but she had kind of not ADHD, ADD, attention deficit later in life. Not so when she was working, obviously, and would often forget that she already wrote something to these people. Already wrote this or that to this other person. And you're like, oh, I already put that out there. And then when the computer age started, she's like, oh, that guy at the computer is like, did I already write this? Yeah, yes, you did. Oh, I thought I already wrote this. Yes, you did. There was a lot of copies. Or I didn't write this. I forgot. I wrote it to this other guy. Did I write to the wrong guy? There's George and Herb and some other people, and all the Marys and the Jeans and everything. There was some daughter of the Jeans. Anyway, so yeah, so enjoy the Christmas trilogy.